So JXP for me has been great with friends. It's meant to be done with friends,
Yes, yes.
or I'd say families, but in
Yeah,
community.
yeah,
And I've seen a lot of my friends become more curious about Jesus,
yeah.
which I would argue is the way, right?
100%.
Because if you're like, no, I've arrived
Right,
to what you said before, we don't arrive at discipleship
right,
or always becoming. And then I've seen people who weren't curious about Jesus lean in way more.
right.
So both those people who were certainty seeking Christians,
Mm-hmm.
it unlocks curiosity. For the person who kind of had their mind up about faith,
Yeah,
it does the same thing. It unlocks curiosity. There's a whole nother group though that you're pretty passionate about that you
yeah,
think should engage in it.
yeah,
Talk about that.
yeah. Well, it would actually be people like us.
Hmm.
So I'm a pastor. I've been a pastor for a lot of years, church planter, pastor in different capacities. And I don't know about you, but I got into that because literally Jesus captured my imagination.
Yeah.
I'm 19 years old, and I had this encounter with Jesus in an alley in Midtown Memphis.
Hmm.
I didn't see it coming. And it literally altered the trajectory of my life, the way I saw the world, the way I learned to see myself and other. It revolutionized everything. And yet, along the way of being a pastor, and I love what I get to do, but I can honestly tell you there were some seasons where something shifted in that. The
Yeah.
wonder of it, the that imagination forming way,
Yeah.
something began to stifle that. I
Yeah.
became really tired. I was worn out.
Mm-hmm.
I was coping in various ways, with an overloaded life.
Yeah.
And the good news, I still believed it mentally,
Mm-hmm.
but somehow in my being, I ceased experiencing the good news.
Hmm.
And I'm grateful. I had a group of friends.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where the community thing is always a part, who walked with me and
Mm-hmm.
helped me rediscover,
Mm-hmm.
not by doing more,
Mm-hmm.
uh, becoming elevated in some form or fashion, but just walking me back into this life with Christ
Mm-hmm.
for my own sake. And I would say to those of you who serve the church, that's the invitation of JXP. There's this little text I love. You know this in John chapter 1.
Uh-huh.
So we have that beautiful introduction about the word. And then we have the scene with John the Baptist, Jesus' cousin. And he's got his own followers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one day Jesus shows up, and a couple of them are really curious about Jesus, curiosity.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And they say, well, before they say anything, they come up to him and he says, hey, what do you want? And then they say, well, where are you staying?
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, come and see. And the text says they stayed with him the rest of the day. It was about 4 p.m. I think most scholars would say they probably just stay overnight. It's like
Yeah.
friends staying up late around a fire.
Yeah.
And why I point out that story and my experience with Christ and what we hope JXP is for those of you who serve the church, it's a moment to come back to that place of hearing Jesus say, hey, what is it that you want?
Mm-hmm.
In the deepest parts of your being, what are you longing for?
Mm-hmm.
And then saying, well, come with me. I got all the time in the world for you.
Mm-hmm.
I got all the time in the world to unpack that with you, to make room for you. So come and see.
Which is not what you feel in ministry.
Not often, a lot of folks I talk to.
Yeah.
And so we think that JXP is an invitation to recover, to live in that soulful life with Jesus that probably got us into ministry in the first place.
Hmm.
And I think we would all agree when we live that way, it's Eugene Peterson's rendering in The Message, right? Of learn to live freely and lightly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, wouldn't we say, like, if I do that and then I'm serving the people I serve, it can't help but just come out of me to be a helpful presence for them.
Mm-hmm.
So we think JXP will help us recover our souls and then walk with other people to do the same.